From the outside, it looked perfect. Better than perfect. A life people would kill for. The sleek white cabriolet gleaming in the driveway. The diamond ring flashing whenever I lifted my hand. The designer bags stacked neatly in the closet next to rows of shoes I wore once and forgot. The vacations that looked like dreams on social media. Sunsets over oceans. Champagne toasts on rooftops. Every photo a carefully framed testament to how lucky I was. Jonathan gave me everything. Not just the money, not just the house or the gifts, but the kind of stability I used to think only existed in fairy tales. And somewhere along the way, I forgot to be grateful. I told myself it was normal to want more. Told myself that all women like me, women married young, women handed a beautiful life before they even figured out who they were. Felt restless sometimes. Felt the itch under their skin that no amount of luxury could scratch. It started harmlessly enough. Weekend trips with my girlfriends, spa retreats, shopping sprees, nights out in the city when we dressed up like movie stars and pretended we were still 22 and invincible. Jonathan didn't mind. He trusted me, trusted all of us. That's what made it so easy to betray him. It was one of those nights, the kind where the bass shook the floor and the lights spun fast enough to make you forget your own name. When it happened, we were at some rooftop club none of us could afford if not for Jonathan's credit cards, laughing too loudly, posing for photos we would delete the next morning when we saw how desperate we looked. Some drunk guy started hovering, slurring compliments I didn't want, grabbing at my arm when I tried to turn away. I wasn't scared, just irritated, just tired of being a target when all I wanted was to dance and drink and forget my perfect life for a few hours. That's when I saw him, Tyler, standing by the bar, looking out of place in his jeans and plain black t-shirt. Younger, cleaner, softer around the edges than the men who usually prowled these places. I didn't think. I just acted, grabbing his hand, pulling him into our circle, laughing like we were old friends. He played along without missing a beat, draping an arm around my shoulders, shooting the drunk guy a lazy smile that said without a word, "She's not available." And just like that, the tension broke. He stayed with us all night, drinking cheap cocktails, laughing at our stupid jokes, slipping seamlessly into our chaos like he had been born for it. And when the lights came up and the staff started pushing everyone toward the exits, I offered to drive him home. I don't know why. Maybe because he didn't ask for anything. Maybe because, for once, I didn't feel like a trophy or a target. Maybe because part of me already knew this was the first crack in a foundation that had been crumbling longer than I wanted to admit. I dropped him off outside a nondescript apartment building on the edge of downtown, gave him a half wave, and drove off into the dark without even exchanging numbers. It felt like a movie, a strange little detour from the life I was supposed to be living, something I could forget in the morning. Only I didn't. 2 weeks later, I saw him again, standing outside another club, shoving his hands deep into his pockets, scanning the crowd like he was searching for something he'd lost. He spotted me almost immediately, that same crooked smile lighting up his face. And this time when he came over, it wasn't to play pretend. He was real, solid, right in front of me. We talked, really talked for the first time, and I learned that his name was Tyler, that he was 23, that he worked 2 jobs and still couldn't make rent half the time, that he didn't remember much about the night we met because he had been so drunk he barely remembered my face. I should have walked away. I should have laughed it off and gone home to my husband and son. But instead, I stayed. And in that moment, I think some part of me already knew where this was heading. I just didn't care. Not yet. I told myself it was harmless at first, that there was nothing wrong with meeting Tyler for coffee, nothing wrong with laughing a little too loud at his jokes, nothing wrong with the way my heart raced when our fingers brushed by accident, nothing wrong because I always went home at the end of the night. back to Jonathan and the life we had built, back to the security and the stability and the suffocating weight of being everything I was supposed to be. I wore the lie like a second skin, convincing myself that as long as nothing physical happened, I wasn't really doing anything wrong. But the truth was, the betrayal started long before I ever touched him. It started the moment I craved his attention more than I craved my husband's. The second time I ran into Tyler, something shifted between us. There was no drunk haze to hide behind, no loud music to drown out the tension. Just two people standing too close on a crowded sidewalk, pretending the pull between them wasn't as obvious as gravity. We went for a walk, some meaningless excuse to stay in each other's orbit. And somewhere between the coffee shop and the dimly lit side street, he asked if I wanted to get dinner sometime. His voice casual, like he wasn't asking me to set my whole life on fire. I said yes without thinking, without hesitating, without once considering what it would cost me. I didn't tell him about Jonathan that night. Didn't tell him about the son I kissed goodnight before slipping out the door. I let him believe I was someone I wasn't. Someone free, someone reckless, someone who could offer him something without consequences. And for a little while, I believed it too. I wore short dresses and high heels and let him look at me the way Jonathan hadn't looked at me in years. Not because he didn't love me, but because real love isn't reckless. Real love isn't dizzy and wild. It's steady and familiar. And I had grown too selfish to appreciate the difference. It was after the third time we saw each other, after hours of pretending, after one too many drinks, after a look that lasted a little too long, that I told him the truth. We were sitting in the front seat of his beat-up car, the windows fogged up from our laughter, and I blurted it out like a confession, like a dare, watching his face twist into something between hurt and anger as I told him about the husband, the child, the life I wasn't willing to give up even as I stood there begging him to take pieces of me anyway. He didn't take it well. Tyler was young, too young to understand the kind of compromises marriage demands, too young to understand how someone could have everything and still want more. He told me I should leave, told me I didn't deserve Jonathan, told me he wasn't interested in being anyone's dirty secret. And for a moment, I thought it was over. Thought he would get out of the car and never look back. But then I leaned across the seat, kissed him like I was starving, kissed him like the world was ending, and he kissed me back with the kind of reckless hunger that only comes from knowing you're doing something unforgivable. It wasn't slow. It wasn't sweet. It was frantic, desperate, the kind of collision that left bruises in places no one else could see. And when it was over, when we sat there gasping for air, hands still tangled in each other's clothes, neither of us said a word. After that night, I couldn't stay away. I made excuses to leave the house at odd hours, invented errands, signed up for fitness classes I never attended, lied to Jonathan's face without blinking. All so I could spend stolen hours wrapped up in Tyler's arms, losing myself in a version of me that didn't exist anywhere else. I bought him gifts, watches, clothes, things he couldn't afford on his own. Told myself it wasn't a transaction. Told myself it was love or something close enough that the difference didn't matter. Every time I pulled into his apartment complex, heart hammering in my chest, every time I slipped inside and let him erase the parts of me I hated, I promised myself it was the last time. Every time I kissed my son goodnight with another man's hand still branded on my skin, I promised myself I would stop. And every time I broke that promise before the sun even rose. I wasn't falling in love. I was falling apart. And somewhere deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before the life I had built came crashing down around me. I just didn't know how much damage I would do before it finally did. At first, Jonathan didn't say anything. Didn't question the late nights or the new clothes that didn't match the errands I claimed to be running. Didn't mention the way my phone was always glued to my hand. The way I smiled at nothing. The way I flinched when he tried to kiss me like I was a house pet that had learned to expect pain instead of affection. He wanted to believe me so badly that he built entire realities around my lies, convincing himself that it was stress, that I was just overwhelmed, that maybe if he bought me something beautiful or booked another vacation, things would smooth over like they always had before. But walls can only hold so much weight before they start to crack, and no amount of love or money could plaster over the way I had started disappearing right in front of him. It started small. The way he hesitated when handing me my phone after it buzzed. The way he glanced over his shoulder when I said I was running out to the store. The way he lingered by the front door, pretending to check something on his watch while he watched me leave. One night, after I came home late with some weak excuse about traffic, I found him sitting at the kitchen table, a half-empty glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at nothing. He didn't ask where I'd been. He didn't accuse. He just looked at me. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, I saw the exhaustion etched into the lines of his face. The quiet devastation he tried so hard to keep hidden. I kissed him on the forehead like a mother soothing a child, and lied to him so smoothly I almost convinced myself it wasn't a lie at all. But he wasn't stupid. Jonathan started noticing everything. The perfume that wasn't his gift. The expensive jewelry I claimed was just something I picked up. When he knew every purchase I ever made came through his account. The new dresses that hugged my body too tightly, cut too low. The nights I came home glowing with something he hadn't put there. He asked about the fitness classes once, casually, like it was an afterthought. And when I fumbled my answer, he smiled that tight, pained smile that said he already knew more than he was letting on. I made him feel crazy for it. I cried. I screamed. I accused him of being controlling, jealous, paranoid. I painted him as the villain for daring to question me, rallied my friends around me, friends who knew the truth but sided with me anyway, telling him he was imagining things, that he needed help, that he was the one breaking the marriage with his trust issues. And the worst part? He believed it. Because when you love someone enough, you believe the lies they tell you to protect yourself from the truth. Jonathan started drinking more, started snapping at the little things, started staying out later himself because it was easier than sitting at home watching the woman he loved morph into a stranger he couldn't reach. He fought back sometimes, rare flashes of anger that never lasted long, yelling about my late nights, demanding to know who Tyler was when he saw a name pop up on my phone that I couldn't explain away fast enough. I called him crazy, slammed doors in his face, sobbed into my pillows at night, not because I felt bad for what I was doing, but because I hated the reflection he forced me to see. A woman who had everything and still threw it away. There were moments when he almost saw through it, moments when his instincts screamed so loudly he couldn't drown them out. But every time he got too close, I twisted the knife deeper, layering more lies over the old ones until he didn't know which way was up anymore. Meanwhile, Tyler became the center of my secret life. He was reckless, too, calling me at all hours, showing up at places he shouldn't have been, texting things he should never have put in writing. I started bringing my son around him. Small casual meetings at parks or coffee shops where it could pass as coincidence, where no one would ask too many questions if they saw us laughing together. Tyler loved my son in the careless, easy way young people love children they have no real responsibility for, tossing him in the air, chasing him around playgrounds, making him laugh until he couldn't breathe. Part of me convinced myself it was fine, that it was even good, that I was giving my son more love, more joy, more family. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was standing on a bridge already on fire, dragging everyone I loved across it with me. And it was only a matter of time before it collapsed. It didn't explode all at once the way I thought it would. It wasn't some dramatic confrontation with screaming and broken dishes, no slammed doors or police called in the night. It was slower, messier, 1,000 tiny cuts bleeding out over months until one day we both woke up drowning in it. Jonathan started drinking in the mornings, started throwing accusations like darts into the air without aiming, furious at shadows because he wasn't allowed to be furious at me. Not openly. Not yet. He would catch me staring at my phone and grab it out of my hands, scroll frantically through apps and messages, searching for something, anything. And when he didn't find it, because I was too good at hiding it by then, he would look at me like he didn't know whether to cry or scream. I should have felt sorry for him. I should have been scared. But mostly I felt angry. Angry that he wouldn't just let it go. Angry that he was forcing me to see the wreckage I had created. Angry that he was too stubborn to keep pretending everything was fine. We fought all the time now. Fought about the laundry, about the bills, about who forgot to buy milk or pick up the dry cleaning. We fought about things that didn't matter because if we fought about the real thing, the rotting core of betrayal between us, neither of us would survive it. Sometimes he accused me outright, slurring the words through liquor-soaked lips, saying he knew. He wasn't stupid. He saw the way I smiled when my phone buzzed, the way I came home wearing perfume he hadn't bought me, jewelry that didn't match the stories I told. And every time I denied it. Every time I turned it back on him. Called him paranoid. Called him pathetic. Called him broken. I told him to get help. I told him he was destroying us. And he believed me. Or at least he wanted to. He stopped sleeping in our bed after a while, started crashing on the couch or disappearing for nights at a time without explanation. I think he was trying to hurt me, trying to make me jealous, trying to show me how it felt to wonder and doubt and lose your mind piece by piece. But it didn't work. I was too far gone by then, too tangled up in Tyler, in the fantasy of being young and free and adored, to feel anything but relief when he wasn't around. Meanwhile, Tyler was everything Jonathan wasn't. Young, carefree, uncomplicated. He didn't ask questions about where I had been or why I cried sometimes when I thought no one could hear. He didn't care about the life I was wrecking to be with him. All he cared about was that I showed up, that I let him touch me, that I laughed at his stupid jokes and promised I would stay a little longer next time. Eventually, Jonathan stopped asking questions, stopped accusing, stopped trying. And that was worse than all the fights, worse than all the drunken rages, worse than anything he could have screamed at me in his worst moments. Because it meant he had finally given up hope. The divorce wasn't messy in the way I expected. He didn't fight over the house, the car, the money. He signed the papers without a word, splitting everything down the middle like he couldn't bear to argue about it. Like he just wanted it over. Like he just wanted to forget. I moved out before the ink was even dry, packed up my things with shaking hands while he sat in the living room with a bottle in his lap, staring at the wall like he was already gone. I moved into a new house a few miles away, a house I bought with money that had once been ours, a house Tyler helped me paint and furnish and make feel like something new, something untouched by the past. I told myself it was a fresh start. I told myself I deserved to be happy. I told myself a lot of things. But then, a few months after the divorce was finalized, a mutual friend told me the truth. That Jonathan had known all along. That people he trusted had lied to his face to protect me. That he had spent months thinking he was crazy because no one would admit what was right in front of them. He hadn't lost his mind. I had driven him there. And by the time he realized it, by the time he finally understood that every nightmare he feared was real, it was too late. I was already gone. And he was the one left standing in the ruins. At first, it felt like freedom. Waking up in a house that was mine. Drinking coffee on a balcony that overlooked a city that no longer felt like it was suffocating me. slipping into Tyler's bed without worrying about whose texts might light up my phone at the wrong moment. For a while, I convinced myself I had won, that I had beaten the system, that I had traded in the heavy gold cage of marriage for something lighter, something that made me laugh and dance and feel young again. Tyler was sweet in a way Jonathan hadn't been for years, quick to tell me I was beautiful, eager to kiss me in public, proud to have me on his arm even though half the time people assumed I was his older sister. I told myself the stares didn't matter. I told myself the gossip didn't matter. I told myself love didn't have to look the way it was supposed to. But cracks started showing sooner than I expected. Tyler was young, so young, and where Jonathan had been steady and predictable, Tyler was impulsive and selfish in ways that didn't feel so cute once the dust settled. He didn't want to talk about mortgages or retirement plans or anything that felt like real life. He wanted to party, to travel, to live paycheck to paycheck without worrying about tomorrow. And slowly, almost without realizing it, I became his meal ticket. The one footing the bill for the dinners, the clothes, the new gadgets he couldn't afford, but always managed to hint about until I bought them. It wasn't love. It was convenience. But I had built my new life on too many lies to admit I had been wrong now. I stayed, even as the loneliness started gnawing at me, even as the excitement faded and the resentment bloomed in its place, even as I caught him flirting with younger girls when he thought I wasn't looking, even as I realized he didn't really want me. He wanted the life I could give him. Meanwhile, Jonathan disappeared completely. No angry texts, no drunken phone calls, no attempts to win me back. He just vanished. Friends told me he sold the cabriolet, that he moved into a smaller apartment downtown, that he got sober, started running marathons, started traveling alone, posting pictures of mountains and oceans and sunsets without a single caption, living a life that didn't include me anymore. I should have been happy for him. I should have felt relieved. Instead, every photo felt like another wound I had inflicted. Another reminder that the person I had broken was out there building a life without the scars I thought I had carved into him forever. And my son. My son didn't understand at first. He loved Tyler, loved the way he played video games with him, loved the way he chased him around the yard, loved the way he laughed without the weight that had always hung between Jonathan and me in those last dark months. But kids are smarter than we give them credit for. It didn't take long for him to realize something was missing. Something solid and safe that Tyler could never be, no matter how many toys I bought or how many trips to the amusement park I planned. There are nights when I lie awake listening to the sound of my son breathing down the hall and wonder if he will grow up hating me for what I did. Wonder if he will understand someday, or if he will look at me the way Jonathan does now. Not with anger, but with something worse. Indifference. I thought I was choosing happiness. I thought I was choosing myself. But the truth is, I chose nothing. I chose a handful of glitter that slipped through my fingers the second the music stopped. Jonathan loved me in the way that mattered. The steady, patient way that catches you when you fall and holds you through every ugly, unglamorous part of life. Tyler loved me for what I could give him, for the way I made him feel when the lights were low and the world was easy. And now, standing in the ruins of what I built, I see it all too clearly. I didn't just lose Jonathan. I lost the woman I used to be when he loved me. And there's no getting her back. No amount of apologies, no amount of tears, no amount of desperate wishing will undo the choice I made the night I grabbed a stranger's hand and decided my whole life wasn't enough. Some mistakes you live with. Some mistakes you live inside forever. And this one is home now.